Cities are complex and they're always changing. And I think for as long as cities have existed, the people who try to bring structure to them and to bring services to them have needed to know, at the very least, how many people are in the city and who needs what in terms of services, and even how to tax residents properly to pay for services.
There's this thing called sense and respond that I believe cities need to have, which is essentially to understand all of the moving parts, to understand where the resources are, understand where the people is, understand the demand that's actually happening for the various services, and then to be able to coordinate all of those resources effectively to be able to respond. Maybe in the old days you could stand on the roof of the municipality and see the boundaries of the municipality, but in a metropolitan city like Cape Town you can't do that anymore. So the only way you can know what's going on in your city is by having the data and the information that comes from having effective systems and technology.
We're living in a digital world. All of us touch digital more and more every single day. And as part of that, it is important for us as a city to recognize how digital therefore can play into the everyday workings of the city.
We all come from very different circumstances and places, beliefs and values. And so, that could also pull people in different directions. So it's important that you start from the city mandate, and that you also start from a knowledge base that will help you either frame up and understand where your knowledge gaps are and where do you need to know more in order to move forward.
The Unicity came to be in 2000, and at that point we had 7 metropolitan local councils that needed to be brought together into one metropolitan Unicity. And this was in a very exciting time, but a challenging time.
You had 7 financial systems, 7 payrolls, 7 plant maintenance systems, and so on and so on. We only needed one of each type. And we had the ambition of integrating these business processes so that we could deliver better services to citizens.
The City of Cape Town's data and research journey can be thought of in 2 stages. The first one is how the city built the architecture for improved administration and service delivery, where the city focused on establishing appropriate digital systems and technologies for internal use. This meant integrating the SAP ERP organization-wide, establishing an IKM department, and connecting citizens through ICT access and e-services. The second stage focuses on how information generated by the city is being used for strategic and operational decision-making. Here, the city focused on data for decision-making, an open data portal and policy, expanding the data science unit, appointing a chief data officer, and constructing the vision for data as a shared asset through a transversal data strategy. The research for city operations involved the evolution of the research policy to a transversal research framework and research tenders, which included the better management of external research partnerships.
Yeah, I think I would say to other cities that already embark upon it is 2 things. I think one is understand your local context, understand what you're trying to do, and devise basically your own strategies. So learn from other cities, but ultimately then take all of that knowledge, look at your own local context, and essentially come up with a strategy that makes sense in your environment. The second thing I think I would say to them is understand that transformation is very difficult. And actually, if you are doing real transformation, you are creating opposition. And you need to understand that. And that's going to be very difficult to actually drive. But in the long run, it is actually worth it. It has short-term pain, but long-term benefit.
I think vision is important. And I think vision backed with what the business vision is important. As a city, what we have found is that there are always many priorities. And I think sitting at an organizational level and thinking more holistically about those priorities is important, and being very clear on your value drivers that you are trying to create as outcomes is the starting step for a city.
For another city embarking on a similar journey, my advice would be to make it very clear about why data matters and why evidence-based decision-making matters, and to continue to make that case and to demonstrate it through practical examples with the leadership, with key operational decision makers. And then on top of that, having a clear leadership role for someone to lead on data and evidence for the organization, and then having a core technical team and some way of bringing in key officials from all across the organizations who want to lean in on this and forming a coalition of people who care about this and want to make it work.
Whatever your starting point is in your city, in your administration, start with that point and build from there. You know, you don't need to have a Rolls-Royce system in place from day one.
First, understand your business. What do you want to do? Understand your business needs. Understand your business requirements. The next thing is to make sure that you've got a centralized database which you can work from. The other thing is write up a proper business case. Obtain budget for that. And the next thing is to actually get a well-skilled project team where you've got business and you've got skilled IT developers that will actually assist you building the system on the way forward.
Our mantra back then, and for me still is now, is people, process, technology. So I'm an IT person and I very much want to use technology. But I find that in helping organizations to work, process is so much more important than technology. I've seen all sorts of technologies being thrown at an organization without thinking about the processes that we want to improve. So I'm a process person at heart first, and it so happens that the best tool I find to automate and enrich those processes are technology.
Yeah, so I think obviously information and knowledge can be quite intangible and maybe something that generally the organization may not be easily be able to identify with. So I think it's important to have a practical focus. I think if one can try and strengthen, say, concepts like data governance and data management, but with reference to a kind of specific system or tool, I think that helps to kind of make the links, in a sense, between concepts that may be kind of more high level, intangible, like data governance, data management, and then the actual use of information and accessibility of information.
Get a small central data unit up and running, but with highly skilled resources. So that would be a mixture of people that are coming from a software development background, data analytics background. So people who sort of eat, sleep and breathe data. But then you need to be able to support them and empower them to get their ideas across and then also implement those ideas.
Another important aspect is to have various projects and programs that are put together over a long period of time so that they can be built on. So it's not just one or two main projects, but that you have different threads and components that can come together and mature at different rates and support the organization through the process. It's also important for cities to hang in and to move through those challenges, because there are challenging times. There are times where you feel you may not be achieving what you want to as quickly as you can, but I think to celebrate those small achievements, and eventually the bigger picture does come together, and so to work through those challenges and keep the momentum going forward, because it is a journey.